Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here, and this festival was really good. A lot of really good speakers, and the organization was amazing. Really excited. Today, well, I should stay here. Today, I would like to show some of the work that we do at BeReal, and also share a few thoughts about technology and the future of interaction, the way we see it. Because we believe that we are living in a very exciting time where the margin between the digital world and the so-called real world are blurring. And this gives us the opportunity to create some amazing experiences and connect back to the tangible world that we used to love so much. But before diving into this, let me introduce you to BeReal and what we do. So we are a production company working with storytelling and blending it with technology. We started in Stockholm, we were founded in Stockholm, but now we have also offices in the US and in the UK. We are about 130 people, and they're from all around the world, really talented designers, developers, producers, directors, some really, really good stuff. And we work with everything from digital advertising to feature films, TV commercials. We do a lot of stuff. And despite the fact that we grew a lot as a group, we are still very much about the crafting. We like to, do things. And you have actually already seen some of the works that we do. Teenage Engineering show this project, which is Live Shop. They show in the presentation this morning, so I'm not going to show it again. But we are still working on this product. We are doing the new version, and it's very exciting. We are doing the version for banks and for telecommunication companies in Sweden, Russia, and Denmark. Another project that we work on with Google, Creative Lab for Google, is Creative Web Lab. And Steve showed it in the previous presentation, which was really good, by the way. And this is an example of the work that we do, and they really make us very, very proud. And over the years, we have produced a lot of different stuff. Everything from feature films, TV commercial, website, interactive installation, interactive films, everything in between. And we also try to find new ways to create emotional connections with our audience or users. And we try to give them experiences that they've never done before. So we try to make them laugh, we try to scare them, we try to make them feel some emotions. But how do we create these experiences? How do we connect to the users? One really good example for doing this is to create a personalized story which is tailored around you. So this is something that has been done quite a lot. This is an interactive music video, but it's kind of hard to make it relevant. And I think that this example is really good. It's something that, again, we did with Google Creative Lab and Chris Milk as director, and Mr. Doob, and a lot of really good developers from all around the world. And the interaction is very simple. It's this music video for Arcade Fire that happens in Chrome, in your browser. And all you do at the beginning of the experience is to just write down the address of the hometown or the house where you grew up. And then you can just sit on the sofa and enjoy the experience. So you just lay back and watch the video. What's interesting about this is that it's a music video, but each person will experience it in a different way, because as the story unfolds, you start recognizing the places where you grew up. So the street where you grew up, your house. So it's very powerful in terms of storytelling, because it's a story, but you are somehow part of it. And if you were to distill what we do at BeReal, you could say the storytelling plays a really, really big role. People love to listen to stories. Think of a mom reading a book at bedtime, or when you watch a movie on your sofa. It's watching the story gets all our attention. And it's kind of an interesting behavior, because you don't have to do anything. You just sit down and you don't want any distraction. And good storytelling makes communication really powerful, makes it memorable. And it's very interesting. And on the other hand, there's another kind of behavior that people enjoy. We all like to play. It's kind of the opposite. We like to evaluate options and make decisions. So instead of laying back, we don't want to be passive spectators. We want to be active. We want to be involved. We want to feel in control. And the integration between these two things, interaction and storytelling, is not something new. It has been done before in history. Maybe Romans had one of the most famous example of interactive entertainment, you could call it, where gladiators were fighting each other. That was a show. But the audience had the chance to influence the show somehow. So there was a bit of suspense. It's a little bit like when you watch TV now and you can vote for, whatever, that person to go out of the house or something. And so at the end of the fight, people were able to vote, thumb up or thumb down. So they felt somehow attached to the story. They felt that they had a saying into the story. Ultimately, it was the emperor to say, you live or you die. And it's kind of fun to see where this thumb ended up today. And combining this storytelling with interaction to let the audience define the outcomes has been tried since then in many different mediums. It's been tried in books, with game books, has been tried in theater, with interactive theater, where the audience is somehow involved, has been tried in TV and in cinema. And in game books, for example, what you do, you read the story as the author thought about it, and then at a certain point you're given the option to jump to one page or another. And it's interesting, but it's kind of hard to. Sometimes you either don't feel in control because you know that actually the story, there are only two options, or you don't feel attached to the story. It's kind of hard to make it relevant. Plus, this flexibility adds a lot of complexity for the authors that has to think of two different narrative or developments for the story. And I think it's just thanks to digital that we can now way more easily produce very interactive experiences that are good stories, but also very immersive interaction. And if you think of video games, for example, they are maybe today the best example of this kind of integration. And that was since the very beginning, since the first arcades. With just few pixels and maybe 2 buttons, but with a good story behind it, you had the big times. Just with few pixels, you become an Italian plumber saving a princess from a donkey. That's like, people felt really, really involved. And thanks to this kind of dynamism, that we can create experiences that give people a lot of freedom. They can do crazy stuff. I'll quickly show one project which is called The Experiment. We did it in London for Honda and with White and Kennedy. So the idea is to invite users to experiment new solution without being afraid of trying. It's a Chrome experiment and is an HTML game, and each window reacts to physics laws, let's say. This is a small video. So all you do as a user, you drag these different elements and you create chain reaction that you prefer. And it's kind of simple, but it's fun, and you can create your own levels, and it's just fun that you can let people live a story, live a level, but also create their own, and their suspense. It's a very interesting thing that we can do thanks to digital, I believe. And in this specific project, it was also fun to produce because we had about 40 different elements that you can combine everything with everything, and you could see the reaction, so it was just about trying. And maybe the fun thing about this project is that we also had the blowtorch, so we had to burn everything that we had on the set, or destroy it, which was amazing, including the car, which was fantastic. We didn't burn the chicken at the end, but we had the chicken on set, and it's always fun to have animal on set. And it was like the star of the show. But even more interesting was this man that was the chicken master. His job is to bring the chicken on the stage and keep it quiet, or say to fly. It's like beyond real. Okay. As a company, we always had this feeling with reality. Even our name is a wordplay for being real. We're called Be Real. And there's something fascinating in creating a connection between the real world and digital. The reality element is something that we always had in our project in a way or another. And I'm going to take you through a quick evolution of projects where this reality component is important. And I'm going to start from projects from a few years ago, but that still, I think, are very, very relevant. So the first one is called Hotel 626. It was a Halloween campaign for Doritos that we did with Goodby. And the idea, the brief, was to bring back from the flavors graveyard of Doritos, which is like chips, one of their flavors. So the brief, to sum it up, was that they wanted to do the scariest thing possible online. So we created a website, and something interesting is that this website was only open at night. So you could only visit it from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. because the idea was to scare you. So we wanted you to be, to see it at night, at dark. And it took you into an haunted hotel, and you were asked to go through a different number of rooms, and each had a different challenge. Here is a quick taste of it. I'm not going to go too much into the project, but we had a lot of video. We also represent a roster of directors. We also are a film production company, so the quality of the video is really good. We had a lot of 3D, but what was interesting is that we combine a few different technology. We use webcam and microphone such in a way that was a bit unusual at the time. But what's really interesting, I think is still today very, very amazing, is that the single thing that scared people the most was the fact that we created a connection between your computer and your phone. So this is something that kind of surprised you because you are not used to a website calling you, right? So if at the beginning of the experience you left your phone number, this is what would have happened.
Why didn't you pick up the phone? I'm trying to help you. Listen to me. This is the only way out.
So you will have received a phone call of the same kind of character that was in the website, that was kind of trying to help you to escape the hotel. But even more fun was when, after that you managed to escape the hotel, then we will wait some time. So you will just, close your computer, go into the bathroom, or do whatever you had to do. And after a while, we will call you back.
You made it out. But we'll see you again in the darkness.
And this is creepy, like it's super scary because like it's a website calling you and you're like, I don't know, the same guy that you see, I don't know. It's a bit unexpected because it goes beyond what you expect should happen. You think that everything should happen within the border of the screen. So everything else is safe. You expect scary stuff happening here, safe. And it's fun to try to break that area. This is another project that we did with BBH, New York, and Axe. The idea was to create an online service where 100 girls would evaluate guys' hair in real time and provide recommendations for improvements and also recommend Axe products. So what you will do, you will go to a website and you will submit a photo and then got an evaluation back from these 100 girls. And we wanted to do this so that it looked like it was in broadcast. You could go at any time, during the day, during the night, and it should look like a TV. So you could see other people submitting photos, these 100 girls evaluating. And there were a few challenges in this one, because we wanted to give the appearance of being live, but it's very hard to convince 100 girls to stay 24/7 for a long period with you. So, of course, we need to still have a really good evaluation of the hair. It shouldn't have to look gimmicky. It had to look real. So how do we do it? And we thought a few different solutions, one of which is to try to find an algorithm to make that happen, so some kind of automated evaluation system for your hair, but it's very hard, especially because as soon as you start asking people to upload their photo, to have ladies to evaluate you, they start uploading crazy stuff, everything apart your face. And so we had to find another way of making that happen. And we thought this mechanical Turk, which is like artificial intelligence. So it's something that appears to be artificial intelligence, but actually there is a person behind it. So it's kind of a smart trick. So in this case, we use artificial intelligence. They'll say that our artificial intelligence consisted in a Canadian call center. So when you uploaded your photo, this photo will go to a Canadian call center where people were ready to evaluate for real this photo. And then we will trigger some pre-shoot video of these 100 girls. The result was amazing. We assembled 100 girls in a warehouse, and we filmed them for a day. And thanks to a kind of clever editing scheme, we created the illusion for this to be continuously broadcasted. And it felt real, because the evaluation was made by real people. And this is the evaluation tool for the call center. So the first thing they were asked to say, is this image valid, yes or no? And if not, why is that? Maybe because it's weird, maybe because it's a girl, it's not a boy, and so on. And because we went so specific and the tool was so easy to use, the response that we were able to trigger felt really, really appropriate. Of course, they were also asked to judge on the hairstyle and other factors like the hair quality or facial expressions. and other objects that could have been in this image. So this is how it looked.
How can you look so happy when there is a hair crisis going on?
100 girls will move in the room from left to right because the room is split in two, and they were able to say whether they approve or not their hairstyle.
With your tongue out?
The image, the uploaded image will appear on the top right, and what you see on the top left is really appropriate comment on the photo that you uploaded. So you really thought it was real. And I was not working at Be Real at the time, and I was blown away because I was trying to find the trick and what kind of algorithm they used to make that happen. And the fact that they decided to use the call center is smart. Sometimes the solution, it can be way simpler than what many people can think. Bug-Run is a recent project that we did with DDB Stockholm and Volkswagen. I love this project. The idea was to build a connection between bugs and the VW Beetle, VW Beetle bugs and so on. And so we created the race with using real bugs, and people were able to place real bets on this bug race. Fun. So we built a miniature city, and we had a racetrack with the bugs. And we find this great guy that went into the wild to find these specific bugs. So apparently there are some very specific bugs, and what they do is run, and they're really good at running. They're really suitable for bug racing. And because it was a sport event, we had this kind of over-the-top title. And we also had the live commentary. And now you can see the race.
Hello and welcome to Bug-Run, the world's first race involving real live bugs. The tension and excitement surrounding this project has been...
And like each bug has statistics and it has names, and you were actually able to bet real money, and this was live, and this is the final.
Paycheck Pal is out like a rocket! Dusty Duke taking up the chase!
Check out Paycheck Pat, John. He's in top form today.
He really is, Jack. Pistol Pete is closing in! He's gonna break the track record! They said he was finished, Jack! They wrote him off!
Pistol Pete wins!
The winner of the entire competition ended up being Pistol Pete after a really tight, thrilling final which saw Paycheck Pat a close second and Dirtbit Fred in third.
And of course, at the end, we released the bugs in the woods, and everybody was safe, and it was really good. So at the end, what we did, what we used were bugs betting service, kind of what we created. And we had real bugs, we had a real betting service, we had live broadcasting and commenting, and these kind of different elements combined to create a really fun experience. And what I think is genius about this project is that we could have used 3D rendered bugs. It probably would have been easier. But the fact that the bugs are real, the fact that there is a story behind it that you can go and show adds so much value to it. If you know that you're betting on real bugs rather than something that has been pre-rendered, completely bring things to a different level. But now let's talk about a different kind of integration with reality. Thanks to technology, the fact that it's advancing, and there are projects like Arduino that is open source, we can create way more easily experiences that connect digital, so let's say software, and hardware. And that's very interesting because it's another way to go beyond the margin on the screen into the physical, tangible world. And here are some examples of what's possible and what we had the opportunity to do. A great example is the Mitsubishi Live Drive. This is a project that we did in LA with 180 and Mitsubishi. So the brief was simple, and it sounded a bit impossible at the time. They wanted to create a website that let people test drive the car from their computer. So you will go into the website, you will queue up, and then you will drive the car with your keyboard, essentially. So what we did, we set up a car in LA, and we let people drive it from their computer. And to make this happen, we combine different technologies. We work with experts to create the robotics within the car, and we had, robotics to accelerate, to brake, to steer, and from everywhere in the US, you could go to the website and use the web interface to drive. We had a few cameras inside the car, a few cameras in the truck. We had a big red button in case something went wrong. We had 2 GPS systems to make sure that people didn't try to, smash the car against a wall. And at the end, the experience was great. And it is a good example of what's possible today. The sensation that you get from driving the car is really good. Not because it is better to drive a car with a keyboard than for real. Of course, it's better to drive the car for real. But the fact that you can do it today, the fact that you can experience something that you thought it was impossible in your mind, it's really good. It's a story that you're happy to share with your friends. And this it also feels good because you feel like you are letting people experience the impossible. Another good project I like is Ariel Fashion Shoot. This is again in Stockholm with Sashi and Sashi and Ariel. I don't know if you have Ariel as a brand here. Essentially, you do? Yes, okay, great. That makes things easier. So it was a super fun idea. What if we can let people control a real industrial robot from their home and with their mouse point and click to really expensive designer clothes and just, throw chocolate or ketchup? And the smart idea is that if you do it, then Ariel will clean the piece of clothes for you and send it home. So you could see that the product works because now it's clean. And to demonstrate, to make that happen, what we did an installation in Central Station in Stockholm. And for 6 days, people were able to go online or at the station and control this real industrial robotic arm. What I think is important is that we could have done the same thing in a studio. So we could have rented a studio space that was just private for us and do the experience there. But the fact that it's in a public space adds a lot of value from a marketing perspective because people, it creates a connection between people online and offline. You see the experience in the station. You want to go home and check the website out. You can feel the presence of people online. It's very interesting. It's a digital experience, but it's also more than that. So once you hit one, at the end you could see the piece of clothes being washed, and then you will receive it as a reward. These projects were very successful and very fun for the users to try. And you can control physical objects. You can collaborate with people online, as an example of WebLab. And it's very interesting because we are all very lucky because it's a good time for us and our industry to innovate in a way. We have access to some great tools, as we are probably the first generation that can play with these tools, and so there's a lot that can be done. So every day there are new technologies out there, and we can use them to redesign the world, experiences in the world. But even if we have all these opportunities, it's super important to contain our kind of geek excitement that we have and have a vision. We should be smart about how we use technology. We should have an idea. We should, and we should understand that we have the chance with our vision to shape the future of interactions, but also the future that we live in. Because we believe in this so much, we launched a new department in BeReal that is called BeReal Products. We conduct focus experiments, and we explore new interaction concepts and technologies with the goal to innovate in advertisement, entertainment, and beyond. We are now based in New York, but we organize and facilitate the research across all the offices with aim to generate new business and create licensable technologies, as well as ideally standalone products. And this is because we believe that there are a lot of opportunities to be proactive. Instead of waiting for a brief, to receive a brief, sometimes we have 130 people, they're really smart, and everybody has good ideas. We want to create a platform so that you can actually propose an idea and we can make them happen. This is an example of a proactive R&D project that we did. It's called Mind Scaletrics, and the idea is very simple. You use your mind to control cars from a slot car track. So we read your brain activities, and the brain is the controller to control these toy cars. The more you focus, and the more the car goes. So this is kind of an object that everybody probably know or has seen. I used to play it when I was a kid. And combined with a technology which is kind of latest, cool technology like mind reading, you can create a really fun interaction. So what happened in this case is that the more you focus, the quicker the car goes. And if you close your eyes, the car will do a little boost, so you can jump. And it's really fun to see people using it. We presented it in London at our party. And what we did really, just to replace the usual toy controller, and we use instead this device that reads your EEG. So it's kind of just hacking a system that everybody knows and applying the dynamism of the digital world as we know it. And to make it even more interesting, we had this boost functionality. We really try to make it as fun as possible. And the result was very unexpected. And the reason I like it is because it's simple enough to trigger people's imagination. So in this moment, you are controlling toy cars, which is kind of a simple thing for kids, with your brain. But because it's simple to understand, then you can imagine other possible interaction. The moment that you understand that with the brain, now you can control a real car maybe. Or instead of using the brain to control the toy, you can use the Wii Fit, or you can use your face expression. Now there's a strong connection that we can build between what we use to interact with digital and the real world, and that's very interesting. We actually did a version that used your phone, so the gyroscope, to control the car, and these are just proof of concept. What's important is to understand that how much possibility we have today, and it's also a good example to understand how technology is growing. Before, you had to go to a lab and have a super crazy thing in your head, and it was very expensive. Now it costs about $100 to have one of these devices. And don't get me wrong, I mean, this is just the beginning. The interaction is not that great. We have no idea what's happening within the brain, so it's very the beginning, but it's an important milestone. It's an important step. And to push the idea further, we also decided to make it big, of course, and flew to Omaha in Nebraska, and this guy helped building a huge slot car, so we went to his kind of lab. What he does is just to build cars for the World Championship. Apparently there is a World Championship of slot car. So he created for us this big track with 4 lanes, and we had the opportunity to get our hands dirty, which is always super fun. And so, with Arduino and a bit of electronic, and we created this track. 4 people were able to play together, and it was super fun. The novelty component in this case is very important because, I mean, at the end, if you have both the normal track and the one that you can control with your brain, you will play with the one with your brain for 1 week, and then you will stop. You go back to the normal one because it's just more fun. Let's face it. But in a couple of years, probably these experiments will look completely retarded because this is just the beginning. And actually, to give you an example of how retarded it looks already for some people, I want to show you what this man felt about it. So he built a track. He was amazed by this technology, and he played for it, and he was super amazed. After a while, he said, you know what, you should come to my slot car club and see how we play. I was like, okay, good. So these are the tracks that they use. And they fill an entire room. They're insane. They're like 6 lanes. And instead of using the James Bond car or the Ferrari car, they use this kind of car. And I must show you the video because it's just unbelievable what they do. And now you can understand why he kind of didn't have much fun after a while playing with our project. Can you introduce me to what this is?
This is a Group 7 wing car.
Okay,
this is pros race these in the United States. I used to be a pro, but not so much anymore.
Well, there's no way I can film it.
So there's 1.86 seconds.
But how do you film it? It's too quick.
You gotta. You should see with 6 of them on there. Fast?
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit insane. Like you can see how the novelty component is important, but still after a while, you keep on looking back for the most fun experiences possible. And I think that our generation always make this mistake. We are often very overexcited about what's new and the latest tech toy. We queue to buy the latest thing. Doesn't matter what other functionality, we just want it. It's like, it's almost an addiction. But sometimes we are so amazed by the novelty component that, and the new features that we forget about what we used to love and what's really relevant and important. If you think of the iPhone, it is a great device. And it's a brilliant piece of device and technology. But what happened at the moment is that I always have to look at the screen to do any kind of interaction. So let's say I'm at the phone and I want to hang up. I want to finish the call. I have to stop doing whatever I'm doing, look at the phone, find the red button, and press it, right? Also, writing a message is very difficult. It really takes all my attention. And that it's a bit of a problem, because I remember that I was able to type messaging. I was really quick when I was a teenager with my old Nokia. I didn't have to look at the screen at all. I could do other stuff. The keys were tangible. I could feel them. I could type messages at incredible speed. And actually, I was able to, drive my scooter, Italian scooter, type a message to my girlfriend at the same time. And I was multitasking in the 90s. And I'm not able to do it anymore. So using the device without watching is one of those functionalities that we lost. We didn't maybe think about it, or we were a bit surprised, but we accepted it. But we should still claim it back. So if you get to decide between an iPhone and a Nokia today, you will still get an iPhone, because it's so way better for many aspects. But eventually, the wonder for the novelty will disappear, and we should try to find ways to get the kind of interaction back. Now we are using stuff like Siri. There are a lot of researches to make the glass smarter, so that when you actually use your finger on the glass, you can feel different materials and so on. But it's crazy. Before we just had a button, right? So it's like it's a balance, and we have to understand if it's really worth it to lose some of these things sometimes. I found this video on YouTube and impressed me a lot. So we have seen many of these videos, kids using iPhone, iPads. They're amazing. They use it for a while, then they go at the TV, they try to swap it. It's really good. But this video in particular really impressed me. So the iPad is OK. The magazine clearly sucks. It doesn't work. But then she does something super sweet, like extremely sweet. I haven't seen it before, but. So still no use. And then she tries the finger, it's not working, and then she decides to try the finger against her legs. And she says, wow, but my finger is working. What the hell, right? Fair enough. So I've also found this image that makes me extremely nostalgic. When we design interfaces, we base them on what we know, the real metaphors of the real world. If you think of the desktop, of course, the most famous one. And yeah, new generation are growing, learning new mental connection, because we are telling them that things work in a different way. So if you are a kid now, you will grow up thinking that when you touch something, crazy stuff should happen. Birds should fly, so we are designing new principle, and we are responsible for that. We have to be aware of the consequences that this could have. So new generation will learn new metaphors that we define. I read a very interesting article from Brett Victor. You can find this online if you Google future of interaction design from Brett Victor. And the bottom line is that the current vision of interaction often include tools that do not use our human capabilities, right? So, for example, what he calls the smart flat, transparent glass technology it doesn't give us any tangible feedback. So it's not really designed for humans that much, meaning that it's a missed opportunity. With my hands, we are really good. We can balance things. We can understand if something is hot, if it's cold, the weight. We are really smart. A lot of our brain power is dedicated just to figuring out things with our hands. But still, our hands are kind of useless against the smart, 'Smart, 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 ' Right, but still, these capabilities are embedded in all of us, and we should try to design against them. It's a little bit like if we had a lot of sensors in our hands. You know, we have a temperature sensor, we have a touch sensor, we have a lot of stuff. 5 minutes. 7 is okay. Okay, so these capabilities are part of all of us, and we should, I will go really quick now, we should not underestimate the importance of designing experiences that use these capabilities, especially when you're a kid. You play with the real world, and you learn by playing. So I really like this project from designer Bruno Munari, that it's a set of 12 books. They don't have any words, but just materials, so the kids learn about different materials, so what's soft, what's hard, and so on. If we look at where we are now, we are more or less there. So we are kind of back up now, but we still spend a lot of efforts dealing with technology. Before we were completely concentrated, now we can at least walk, but still our attention is completely against the screen. But it's okay, we're just at the beginning, and that happened with all technology. I like to do this analogy with the photography. When we didn't invent the photo camera to start with, we invented something called, the camera obscura. So it was just a tent or a camera with a pinhole or a lens, and there was a painter inside the room painting the projected image. So we were kind of the processor of this camera. With the time, we decided to make this camera a bit more smart, so that it will do the work for us. We're kind of lazy. So we decided to go out of the camera and slowly, with our head, and before we were inside the camera, now the camera is inside our pockets. Eventually it will be inside us, with our Google glasses or with our lens. So this is the beauty of ergonomics. So we will be wearing photo cameras and we will not even notice. So when technology is mature enough, it becomes transparent, meaning that it doesn't require anymore our attention, nor to change our habits. In the past 30 years, we have been pushed more and more for experiences that only involves sight and hearing, and that's it. All you see, it happens within this rectangle. You know that, all the rest, nothing happens. We are not using the other senses. We confine the real world into the screen. The augmented reality, as we know now, I feel that it kind of sucks, because the real world is super rich. It has a lot of value, but we compress it. Wow. In a small screen. So in the future, virtual reality like this one will eventually become real, and maybe it will feel even more interesting than the real experience, but we are not there yet. And at the moment, I don't think it's worth it, the compromise. Yes, the novelty is good, but it doesn't really give you the real world sensation. It just mimic the real life. So what about designing experiences that instead of taking reality and putting it on a screen, enhance the reality as we know it today? I think that people now are starving for real experiences that involve more senses than just sight and hearing. We want to feel a bit more involved. And that's why I think that a project like we had a great response, because people can interact, they can feel a bit more active. And same, of course, for Kinect. You can use gestures. It's an opportunity to involve people more. So I think I have time to show just one last project. So what about, so what about taking that digital experience, the game, and bringing it from that margin, that kind of safe margin of the screen, into the real world. So instead of trying to mimic reality in here, we take what we have in here and we kind of try to use it for the real world. So this is another R&D project that we did at BeReal. It's called ILT. It's a multiplayer game using mobile devices and projection mapping all around the physical installation. So it's a digital game that takes place in a room. We presented it for our party. 8 people can play together, use their mobile devices. Each person controls some kind of a snake, we call it eel, and they have to try to kind of catch each other. So you play using the actual shape of the object. The reason why I think it's interesting is because it's a game, it's a digital game as we know it, but instead of being on a flat rectangle, all the digital games are in the flat rectangle, it uses a real-world shape. What that means, apart from how good the game itself is, that's not the point. The point is that now, if you want to play, you have to use the real world. So you also use other kind of senses. So you have to evaluate distances. You try to hide from another person because you kind of hide behind the sculpture. for instance, or you dodge, hit another person, you have to evaluate distances, it becomes a bit more interesting. So we apply the dynamism of digital to the real world. And I think this is just the beginning. There are a lot of interesting projects, and I think it's a good way to go. And this is something that we try, right? And it doesn't mean that necessarily it's going to be successful or relevant in a few years, but this is the beauty of our time, that we can really quickly do prototypes, and R&D is extremely important, so to experiment, do a lot of experiments. And this is what was a really low budget, crappy prototype, but still, it was enough to prove the concept. And we said, okay, we think is relevant, we want to invest a bit more. I think I'm out of time, so I'm just going to recommend one book, and I believe that there's so much that we can do. What we decide to do is up to us. What we do is also based on the vision that somehow either science fiction or movies or books are kind of suggesting us. I think that if you are kind of short an idea, I think that today is a really good opportunity to look into science fiction and magic, because a lot of the things that were science fiction not too many years ago are now possible. And so you can actually do things that were in Star Trek. And the time it takes from science fiction to reality to happen is kind of, the gap is going smaller and smaller for a lot of things. So the book I recommend is this one from Michio Kaku. He's a really good physician. He's like one of the guys that did the string theory. It's my hero. He's a Japanese guy. But it's like this really good physician, but he's also an extreme big geek, and he loves Star Trek and all the Superman and comics. So what he does is explain physics and what is considered or was considered impossible using science fiction and as example. So, it talks about invisibility, but takes the Harry Potter invisible cloth as a reference. So it's a really fun way to read about physics and to get a lot of inspiration. And that's it for now. I don't think we have time for questions. Where is it? Do we have time for questions? No, really. Only one. Do we have at least one question? Oh? One question? No questions? Okay, that's good. Thank you, guys.